Chapter 3. The Girls from Calais. I come to a little harbour town called Cassis. The sea crystal blue enclosed in a circular bay, fishing boats and nets spread out along the quay. Idyllic. The June sun's hot, and it's good to spend the days on the beach, reading and bathing, and at night to sleep out along the cliffs under the brilliant stars. The days are drifting by effortlessly. My needs are few, and I've devised the means of attaining them. I'm young, 18, and everything's new and fresh. It doesn't matter that time is drifting by. The days are sufficient unto themselves, each one of them bringing something new, from which I glean a little wisdom, a little poetry perhaps. One night, sitting alone along the cliffs, watching the moonlight on the sea, two girls are suddenly at my side, saying, "Salut." They sit down beside me, and a shiver runs through me at the proximity of their bodies. I tell you, these things are still unknown to me, are still just dreams. I can see them clearly in the moonlight. They're beautiful. They're sisters from Calais. They're spending their summer holidays here in Cassis with their parents. "We were passing. We saw you. You looked like you were making poems to the moon. Were you?" asked the elder one, whose name's Brigitte, and whose corn-coloured hair flows over her shoulders and down her back like a waterfall. Yes, I was." She's looking at me so piercingly a thrill rushes through me, a panic. "Do you write poetry?" she goes on. "Well, yes, I try to." "You must be inspired, eh? What inspires you, apart from the moon?" "Oh, the sea, the stars, the smell of the pine trees." "And girls?" her eyes piercing into mine. "Do girls inspire you?" "Oh, yes," I say. "I want to say, you inspire me. I would write 1,000 poems to you as we lay together beneath the moon." But instead I look down at the ground, unable to bear the intensity of my feelings. And after a few moments' silence, the girls get up, saying they better be getting back. Their parents will be worried about them. "Bonne nuit, poète." "We could meet tomorrow if you like." "Oh, yes." And so we arrange to meet in the harbour beneath the beacon at noon. We can spend the day together on the beach, the whole day. Whoopee! I dance and leap and cartwheel beneath the very moon. Lying awake, looking up at the stars, I'm praying fervently to God that everything will go well tomorrow, and by nightfall, Brigitte and I will be in one another's arms. What dreams! I'm praying fervently to God for what will be the last time for a very long time. The clock struck noon. I'm nervously smoking a cigarette. All of a sudden, they're at my side. "Bonjour." We set off to the beach. Walking between them, I begin to feel awkward and gangling and tongue-tied. The longing I've nurtured overnight is choking me, making me unnatural, tense. In broad daylight, I've lost that aura of being a poet composing to the moon. In broad daylight, I'm a blithering idiot who can hardly compose a sentence to this girl, whom I tremble for in every fibre of my being, without stuttering and blushing. I turn to her sister, Anne, saying, "It's hot already." "Yes, it's hot on the Mediterranean," she says. "Much hotter than in the north," I say. "Yes, of course it is." And with that she closes the conversation. Coming to a spot on the beach that's quite secluded, the girls lay out towels on the stones and we sit down. They strip off to the bikinis they have on underneath. With the proximity of their nearly naked, voluptuous bodies, and the scent of their fresh sweat, I begin to get aroused. Oh, horror! I try by a stupendous application of will to reverse the process before it becomes evident to them, betraying the nature of the thoughts I'm entertaining. Oh, shame! But the situation's beyond the dictates of the will, in fact quite out of control, and grabbing my notebook from my rucksack, I roll over quickly onto my stomach and make pretense of writing. "You're inspired?" asks Brigitte, at which she dashes into the sea. Anne follows her, and I, slowly recovering my dignity, come after them. There's a cool, handsome-looking guy in the water, with whom Brigitte begins to play, splashing water over him. Laughingly, he splashes her back. How I envy the ease with which they interact with one another. The picnic the girls produced is sumptuous. Bread and cheese, olives, tomatoes, cucumber, and fruit. But how ill at ease I am with them now, as we sit here on the towels eating. This isn't at all how the day should be going. Where's the magic of the night before? Why is it always nothing but dreams when it comes to girls? Why can I sing so sweetly of them in my poems, but when it comes to talking to them in real life, I'm a tongue-tied twit? Now the handsome, brawny guy's coming out of the sea, and Brigitte's calling to him to join us. "No, go away," I scream. I want to scream. He's here, drying his suntanned body with Brigitte's towel, accepting an apple she's handing to him, and sitting down next to her. He's got her laughing and smiling with his witty talk, and his cool glances are bringing her closer and closer to him, and further from me. The food stuck in my throat. A chasm of emptiness has opened within me, and my whole being's plunging into it, along with my faith and my hopes and my dreams. I get up, slinging my rucksack over my shoulder, my voice shaking. I have to go now. "You've been inspired?" asks she, whose corn-coloured locks are being plaited by her Romeo's hands. "Yes." "Goodbye then. Au revoir." Night's fallen. I'm sprawled on the steps of a doorway with a bottle, with tears of rage. Rage against God, to whom I prayed with all my heart, and now I curse with venom, with spittle, with fist. Oh God, cruel Creator, I beseeched you, begged you with all my being, and now you do this to me. Poor old God. He'd set up everything for me, to give me the chance to make what I could of it, and I'd bungled it, not him. And here I am shouting it at him in a blind, drunken fury. No wonder there'll be times when he'll turn a deaf ear to me in my darkest hours, when crying up to him for deliverance. I slumber drunkenly, brokenly on the beach. This morning, hungover, sad, scared by the anger and loss of command the drink caused in me, I take the road to Nice. I feel so crushed and battered by the experience of yesterday. Why is it that I become so knotted up inside when I'm in the company of girls? Am I afraid of them? Will I ever be able to be at ease with them? I ponder as I trudge along the road. I begin to glimpse what I reckon to be at the root of the problem. It's not women themselves that I'm afraid of, but what they evoke in me. Overwhelming desire, and an intense yearning which seems to be connected with my very deepest emotions. And these desires and yearnings well up from me and clutch at her, whoever she might be, who's had the power to call them up. Yes, it must be something like that. I'm kicking a stone along the road. I'm beginning to feel better. The fresh wind blowing off the sea is reviving me, bringing me back to my senses. And this kind of thinking things out, as I call it, clarifies them in my mind and stills the turbulence in my heart. I see myself as a poet, pure and noble, too high-minded to acknowledge the darker side of myself, the animal in which all manner of desires crouch. But an animal's noble too, and graceful when it's allowed free expression. But I keep the doors of its cage firmly shut, so that it becomes like a creature kept in the dark, savage and emaciated. It would tear its captor to shreds if it could burst from its captivity, if it could bolt from its dungeon, as it surely will. Chapter 4. Nice. Tramping along the coast, gathering bottles as I go, I arrive in Nice. Selling bottles, I buy wine, cheese, a baguette, and sup on a bench on the promenade. The sun dips into the sea in the west, and the stars, one by one, peep out in the pink twilight. Aglow with wine, I stroll into town. The houses, the yellow colours of Italy, retain a little of the sun's light and warmth. I sit on some steps and soak up the atmosphere of the place. Young couples pass, arm in arm, cooing to one another. The tapping of a blind man's stick on the cobbled street is getting closer. I watch him as he passes, with his dark glasses and his sure, unfaltering step like a hare, following the same path every night, knows every twist and turn and stone. He senses that I'm watching him, for he looks directly at me a moment, as though to say, "Why stare at me?" I'm fascinated at the world he inhabits. What a strange, dark world. And yet perhaps he's filled with a glowing interior light, which we, always distracted by things outside us, are blind to. Perhaps he's already seen what we are seeing now, taken what he'd needed from it, and now has turned his gaze inward. Another man, briskly pacing along the street, espies me and makes in my direction. He's expensively dressed, about 50 or so, with a rather effeminate manner. "Bonsoir," he says cheerily. "Bonsoir." "Anglais?" "Oui." "You look thin. You would like to come and have something to eat with me? Come on, I invite you. A growing boy like you must eat." His tone is insistent. "Well, it's very kind of you to offer," I say, getting up. Is it really kindness, I ask myself, as we walk side by side along the street. "Here it is fun to eat," he says, as we arrive in a small street full of restaurants. They are all places that make this strange stuff called socca, a kind of grilled cornflour similar to polenta, which is absolutely delicious. We sit at a long table on a bench eating this, with wine poured from earthenware jugs. I'm glad of the food and wine, for I'm ravenous, but I'm uneasy about the fellow who's treating me. His conversation's continually drifting towards matters of sex. "Do you like women?" he asks me. "Yes." "What do you feel when you see a beautiful woman?" "Well, I excited?" Yes." "And when she touches you? Excited?" "Well, yes," I say, blushing. His hand's now settled on my leg under the table. What can I do now? I can't push it off. That would be rude.